Hi, everyone. My name is Claire Belanger-Barker. I'm the Executive Director of the Crane Rental Association of Canada. And today I am joined by Mark Danderfer and Justin Andrews, co-chair of the Boom Dolly Research Committee. Over to you, Mr. Chair.
Hello, everyone. We are pleased to announce today that we've finally got some really good headway on our axle weights for all-terrain cranes. It's been a 20-year journey to get to this point. There's been hundreds of thousands of dollars spent by industry to prove the science and the metrics. And the government finally has a group in place that have worked with us. And the pilot project is successful. So we're happy to announce today that we have some new metrics to share with you on axle weights and how we're going to move our equipment around the province.
Welcome everyone to this meeting, a very exciting meeting we've got coming here. So we have two guests on the call, which everyone is quite aware of, Wendy and Andrew. And yeah, I'd just like to say thank you guys for joining the call and thank you for working with us and all the discussions we've had. And I'll flick it straight over to you.
Thanks, Justin. Just a quick word before Andrew gets into his presentation. So thank you for meeting with us. And I just wanted to give a shout out to Claire, who's always been lovely to deal with over this past year, and the patience of the committee and the membership of the Crane Association. So we hope that you find today's information helpful. Andrew's team has put together some information based on the data from the permits, and he'll walk us through what we know and how we're going to proceed. So over to you, Andrew.
Okay, thanks, Wendy. And again, presentation might be a heavy word. Basically, I just wanted to touch base with everybody, kind of go over where we're at with the pilot, take a look at kind of where we're seeing the cranes travel through that pilot and go forward with some next steps. So our relationship really formally began at the outset of this pilot project that began in September of 2021. And I guess the heavier axial weights came into effect through a single trip permit, but restricted the use of boom dollies. So around February of last year, we started to hear from CRAC that industry wasn't really getting the benefit of the pilot program. That was what was the goal of the outset of it. So at that time, we started to take a closer look at what we were doing. At that point, we were a little farther ahead. We wanted to give it at least a cycle to go through, a seasonal cycle, and evaluate at that time, which kind of brings us to today. So over the last kind of year of the pilot project, maybe what I'll do. So basically, this is what we were able to put together based off the permit data. Now we're hoping to kind of expand on this ability internally. It's something we haven't done in-house before, but it's something that we want to continue doing and get better at. But really what this is the single trip permits to train tracking for the spring season of the pilot program. So really our heavier traffic, which we probably all knew, Fort McMurray in the Peace region, had probably a little trip bringing something from BC into Calgary area. But for the most part, our traffic here, Fort McMurray, Peace region. And that's probably going to be standard, I would think, throughout the pilot.
Andrew, can you clarify that this is, okay, so this is spring.
Spring permits, you bet. We see that in the summertime, the same routes are just basically expanding. So springtime, we kind of kept up here, and now we're just moving down as the weights get heavier. Same with Peace region, probably starting in Grand Prairie and branching out from there. And then in the fall, where we get into kind of before winter, we can see that expansion of traffic. Still, main traffic areas, Fort McMurray, the Peace region, the North Central region, and Medicine Hat. I'm not sure, there's probably some localized work down there, but for the most part, we know where our crane traffic is. a couple things I think this helps us with is when we get into municipalities and the effect that this may have on them, we kind of know where to target our communication. And Claire's been wonderful kind of taking that on and trying to build those relationships up just to make sure that everything goes smoothly on the outset of that. I'll pause there real quick. I know that's information in a in a pile. Are there any questions regarding any of the past or what we've tracked through the pilot program so far? I don't think there's many surprises there.
The only thing I would add, Andrew, is so one of the limitations we had, so we have a GIS technology that helps us with some of our route mapping, and what we had wanted to do was build a heat map so that we could determine that specific routes were used 10 times, twice, 100 times, and obviously those would show darker or different than, you know, a one-off trip. That's what Andrew referred to, and we're trying to work on that. Really, it's just a technology issue we're finding within the GOA and getting it on the person's laptop and actually getting it out of Travis, the permit system, and actually putting it onto a map. So that's just one of the technical things we're working on from our side. But this does give an indication or a clear indication as to where those permits were used in the 3 seasons. And I'd have a similar question what Andrew has. Does this surprise anyone? Did you expect more routes, less routes? What is your first impression from here?
Well, I think the routes kind of even reflect the data that we had, you know, 7, 8 years ago when we tried to heat map it as well. So I think it validated that and some of our mileage content from the original.
Is there any idea of numbers? Like total?
That's where I was going to go next. So this was a total 290 permits were issued in it throughout the year. So I think that means a couple different things. I think it's a limited, I guess, sample to draw from. But I also think it supports the idea that industry wasn't getting full use of the pilot program. And really, if like not having any crane activity in the central region, I don't know if that's kind of par for the course for you guys, but I figured that there would be some sort of travel in that area. Now, because of the limited access or limited amount of permits, 290 permits, and the kind of limited use the industry is getting, Alberta Transportation is going to allow that and amend the pilot program to include 3 to 7 axle cranes with boom dollies. And then our way forward with that is we're going to be running our stats every 2 months. And particularly, we want to take a very close look at the spring season for, I think, obvious reasons. What we're anticipating is with the inclusion of boom dollies, that this map is going to get a lot heavier in the springtime, right? We won't see these 3 areas. We're going to see traffics throughout the province. And when it comes time for spring, that's kind of what we want to keep a close eye on. So we'll be running these stats every 2 months. Hopefully we'll be able to map them a little clearer and give both the association and our superiors, well, mine at least, a clear idea of where these things are operating, and then try to navigate any issues that arise from that. Now, when it comes, now we're going to run that, the pilot won't be extended. And the reason being is we do want, it doesn't mean it won't be, but for the original kind of idea, we just want to do it a full seasonal cycle with the dollies, make sure that there's no insurmountable issues, and then reevaluate at the end. What we are going to do is run this pilot until the end of the fall season, because wintertime we don't have an issue, right? So at the end of the fall season, it allows us to kind of all come back to the table, find out what we learned, any issues that we've had throughout, and then make a decision for the next springtime. So any questions on that side? So where we're moving, we are ready for March whenever springtime hits. Our permits have been adjusted, so when you request one, you'll hopefully won't have any issues, but.
Hey, Andrew, it's Mike here. So just to clarify, the dollies will be included for the remainder of the pilot with the requested axle weights put forth in the last presentation.
Correct. Ollie weights, however, are not changing. So the increased
Nope.
weights are only on the crane. Yeah, you bet.
Perfect. That is fantastic news.
Andrew, thank you very much for bringing that information. I really appreciate it. So that'd be basically in spring would be a 9500 an axle with normal dolly weights right up until 7 axle cranes. That's fantastic. Thank you very much.
That's a provincial perspective, right? And one of the issues that we flagged with Claire and why we're working so hard just to try to identify municipalities in order is municipalities still maintain the right to not approve these permits. Again, I can speak to the provincial road network, but I can't for the municipal.
At the conclusion of this pilot project, and we do end it in the fall, and then we come into winter, and then there'll be a review. Depending how long that review takes, and coming into the next spring, that may be a time where we have to be back to 7600, or you're trying to complete a review and come with an answer. I know it's too early to tell, but
extremely too early, Justin. I don't want to get there. I mean, we're going to learn as we go on. Like, we're going to have a pretty good idea in summertime how the spring went.
Okay.
So I formalized review, I'd like to take that winter season. It's a nice kind of tidy box for us, right? It's the closer of a seasonal cycle. We're in winter. We don't have really any concerns, and we can work through it over the winter seasons. One of the other things that I would ask from industry is throughout the pilot, the way we make these kind of decisions is we have the road damage equation, right? Where we need, I think, industry's help is to balance the other side of the equation. So I'll be able to calculate road damage and quantify it best we can. Where we need industry's help is kind of a picture of before and after. So before this pilot project, I had to send 1 crane and 3 trucks. Now I only need 1 crane and 1 truck. Any shifts of time taken in the morning, setup, takedown, any time required before dispatch or after dispatch, and any quantitative measurements when it comes to fuel, labor, anything like that. If you guys can give us a picture of those types of benefits, then it kind of, I guess, balances our evaluation. So we're not just looking at what infrastructure impacts it has, but look, we're also giving industry this business or these benefits, and they're getting this out of it, which may make it worth it in the long term.
Just to clarify, one of the things that we learned this past year too is that waiting for the entire year to analyze the data, I mean, there's obviously more data to analyze. So if we do it on a seasonal basis, and really we know the spring is really where we have to protect the infrastructure, that's when it's at its most vulnerable. So as Andrew said, once we get through spring, we'll take summer to analyze it. Once we get through summer, we'll take fall to analyze it. So that gives us time to take, little learnings throughout that 10-month period. And then when winter hits and winter weights are on, then that's when we can kind of come back together and decide if it worked and if there needs to be further adjustments. And from my perspective, that's where we can take that moment to, give feedback back to municipalities if we need to say, here's what we learned, in hopes that they do approve those permits on their local roads, and then also inform our minister as well, as she's the one who has endorsed us to go forward with another year, three seasons of this pilot.
Specifically, I'm just trying to figure out, again, like I said, like how to balance the other side of that equation. I can do a good job of showing the bad things. I can't help you show the good things. So that's where I'm looking for your guys' help.
I think the data that you're looking for, Andrew, is really where we help pull together anytime we have to take a non-divisible load off a crane and haul it. That was the real risk, is stripping these carriers right down, and to the point that it's impacting steering, braking, etc., putting workers at risk, and then adding additional equipment. So the more data we can get you on that during each seasonal chunk, I think helps complete the story, as you said, because, damaged infrastructure is one thing, but, the risk to the public and to the workforce is the other side of it.
Yeah, completely agree.
Andrew, we touched very briefly on the cost and the increment that our members will be seeing on their permit. Is there anything you want to add to?
Cost, guys, and I think this was addressed at the outset. We do have the annuals. It's 41,000 under an annual permit without a dolly, 55, I think, with one. Those are still able to be used, but when we get into the single axle permits, the additional weight is legislated. So the increase in weight increases the fees.
I think you'll see more data now that we can add a dolly to it. I think a large number of membership shied away from a single trip permit with no dolly under the restriction and just went, it's easier just to work in the current system. So hopefully we'll see a participant uptake that will help quantify the data.
I think you're going to see a great improvement, but big thanks to Andrew and Wendy, for sticking with us and helping us out, because this is a big achievement for us. And, big thanks to you guys for that. It's fantastic news.
As chair, I guess, guys, again, to reiterate, thank you very much for all your help. It's been a long time coming, 20 years of effort put into this by people before us and before me. And we thank you guys very much for your understanding and for your assistance. I think it's a fair ask.
Okay.
So driving related incidents or near misses. Yeah, that's an excellent point, Justin. So everyone in the industry understands a big portion of our pilot project and what we have to do moving forward as a group is we need compliance. We need everyone to follow the rules, work within the parameters that the government has offered us, and we need to work together to make sure that we're doing it properly. We can't cheat the system and we can't take advantage of it. We need to do it properly, and we need to get the information as a group properly, and we need real metrics and real numbers so that we can further our case with the province. To all our members, this is easy. If you're not a member of CRAC, we encourage you to get a membership, come into our organization, join us, and help us in the future. Now, to explain what kind of metrics and the information that we need, I'd like to put this over to my co-chair, Justin Andrews with Tadano America Corp.
Hi, everybody. There's a very important aspect to this pilot project, and we need to gather some data from your company when it comes to running this pilot project. The government would like to see a report on any benefits that come to your company regarding this project. As the axle weights are increased on the crane, we should show benefits such as less vehicles on the road, fuel saving, insurance saving, labor costs, reduction of wearing of tires or equipment, and also if there's any reduction of incidents and near misses. It would be a great benefit if your company, through this pilot project, could gather this data and please share it. Obviously, it would be anonymous, and this will help concrete this pilot project so we can move forward in the future. Thank you.
Well, this brings us to the end of our presentation. I want to thank everyone who's taken the time to watch this video. If you have any questions, please call our office. The number will be on the screen. I personally want to thank the current chair, Mark Dandifer and Justin Andrews, for their unrelentless work these past few months and years in some case. Kudos to Tim Bennett, who has been a great mentor in this entire project. And I also want to say kudos to Dean Schmid and Tim Sittler, who had the vision to make this project move forward. In closing, we invite non-members to join us at the Crane Rental Association of Canada. I hope you can see the value of the work that has happened in the past 20 years and the hundreds of thousands of dollars that have been invested by members, and the counted, hours and hours of work and research and commitments and lobbying efforts. So we look forward to welcoming you to our great association.